everything.
Alright, this first section we're going to be going over how to build a tribute page using AngularJS. Now, it may seem like overkill, but I actually think it's a great project to get started to understand data binding, to understand how to basically set up an Angular application, your controller, your app. We're also going to be going over ng-repeat, which is used all the time. Alright, so what are we doing today? Today we are going to be building a tribute page from FreeCodeCamp. Now, we already have this built out in jQuery. Now, what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to build this out using AngularJS. There's not a lot of Angular that you need to know to do this, so we're going to start out if you know nothing about Angular, and I'm going to explain going there. Now, what is a tribute page? It's basically this right here. We're going to choose a character. In our case, we're going to go ahead and choose Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z because we all know he's better than Goku. And then we're going to go and fulfill some of these user stories. Now, what are the user stories? A user story is basically something that the user expects to do. So in this case, they need to be able to view a tribute page with an image and text. And we need to be able to click a link that'll take to go to like Wikipedia with more information. So that's what we're going to do here. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now let me pull up some code real quick. We're in CodePen. Go ahead and if you're following along, feel free to create your own CodePen. You could also do this in an IDE or a text editor, such as Atom, which is my personal favorite. So let's go free FCC, YouTube, or FCC, AngularJS. Build a tribute page. Go ahead and save that. Always name your stuff so you can come back and you know what you're looking for. First thing that we're going to need to do is go ahead and import Angular like so. You'll see they'll import the most recent version of Angular. Go ahead and save that. And then our CSS, go ahead and import Bootstrap. I'm not sure if we'll use it, but we probably will. What we're going to do here is we're going to create a div to get started. This is going to be where our app scope goes. I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure I changed the name of this. Close this. Close this. F11. Let's zoom in a little bit more for everybody. Save that. And one more time we'll rename this FCC AngularJS. Actually, let's go ahead and just AngularJS build a tribute page. Alright, now that we've imported our libraries, there's something you have to do to get started. You have to initialize the app. So all you have to do here is angular.module, and it's going to take in two parameters. It's going to take in the name of the application, and we'll just call it app, and then it's going to take in a function. And then within here is where you can define your controller. Your controller, you basically can have one application and various controllers. So controllers are we're only going to have one controller because the controller is where certain points of your code will run. Basically, it's where your app runs, and so you may have multiple controllers. Your app may be the whole application. Well, maybe we have just a page app where this certain page uses this controller, but it basically breaks up your features. Now, what we can do here, let me go ahead and pull up this code because this is one of those things where you type it out once and then you forget it, and I don't want to hold this up here, so let me go ahead and pull up a pin side by side here that I was working on. So you just start off by defining your application. Because we're doing this in CodePen, it's slightly different. We're actually going to store this in a variable. So we're just going to go var class app is equal to this. Normally you wouldn't do this, but because we're doing this within FreeCodeCamp, that's what this. And sorry, I messed up right here already. What we're actually doing is we're just storing the name of the app, which was app, And then we will go ahead and put this, and then right here you dependency inject things if necessary. So I've been using a text editor. This is a little slightly different. So what we're going to do here is we're going to call class app.controller. Again, this is slightly different than how you would do it in a text editor. Just so that we can show the difference, why don't we go ahead and pull up a text editor with some Angular code in it, something I was working on earlier in the week, so that you can see exactly what is different between that and a normal application. If it ever runs. There we go. So in this application, let's go ahead and jump into app.js. You'll see that I'm defining, there's no variable setting. And then we'll go ahead and jump over to our controller, and it's slightly different here as well. We're just calling the Angular module. In our example, we're actually defining a variable and setting it equal to it. Not a big deal, but when you're just starting out, it's good to know that what you're going to actually do in a text editor. So we're going to define the controller here, and we'll just call this controller1, and then we'll go ahead and put our function and our scope object. Our scope object here, or scope parameter, is actually the real backbone of Angular. This is going to allow us to communicate with do data binding and communicate with the HTML. So what we're going to do here is just go ahead and make sure that we test everything correctly. To do that, we need to go ahead and assign our app and assign our controller. Typically, you will assign the ng-app directive like this in your HTML tag, but because we're using CodePen, we're just going to go ahead and pass a div in here and do the same thing. So what we have to do is just name our class app like so. So that's our ng-app, and we can go ahead and nest our controller within the same thing as well. I'm going to do what did I call it? Controller1. Cool. Make sure I don't spell anything. So let's go ahead and test what we're doing here. You basically assign everything to the scope that you want to do over. So we'll do scope.test1 is equal to the string hello world. We're really just doing this to test that we know what we're doing and how we want to do it. Now, this is going to evaluate an expression. We could do something like 3 plus 2, and it should evaluate 2, 5. Or it could just not work at all, and then we have to decide what we're doing here. So I named this class app. This is actually supposed to be our app, excuse me. So we named it right here. So you see now that it evaluates to 5. It works the same with our variables. So what we can do here is simply go ahead and do test1, and now we're outputting data, hello world. So let's go ahead and start creating an object that's going to store various things, such as the stuff I just closed out. Let me go ahead and open up Free Code Camp one more time, so I can have the tribute page CodePen to reference to see what they have, what I need to know to build. So we need something with an image, and a name. So the first thing that you'll notice is that it has a big old name. So maybe we can do an h1 tag. So we have an h1. Close the h1 like so. So instead of h1, there's a little bit of smaller thing. So that looks like an h3 slash h3. And then we have a image. So let's go ahead and put an image. And we're going to leave that like that for now because of what we're going to be doing with our image in a second. So let's go ahead and jump forward now what we want to do. We have our scope. Let's create an object here. Make it an array. Let's just create an object to store some data. We're going to create some key value pairs here. The first one, we can go ahead and call this heading. And we'll put Vegeta. I actually don't know Vegeta's full name. Vegeta full name. So let's go ahead and go on the Dragon Ball Wiki. Vegeta's full name is... No last name for Vegeta. Alright, so we'll do this instead. I kind of killed the hype a little bit. Vegeta. And then we'll do a subheading tag, or a subheading key value pair here. And we'll do prince of all Saiyans. I apologize if I misspelled Saiyans. You can all call me a noob. So what we're going to do here, similar to how we would target a JSON object, is we're just going to target, let's change test1 to, we'll just change it to Vegeta. And we'll say Vegeta.heading. So now our h1 content, if you don't misspell it, is going to output. So there's our Vegeta as an h1 tag. We can do the same thing for our subheading, like so. Subheading, Vegeta.subheading. Prince of all Saiyans, which I think I misspelt. Now next what we can do is we can go ahead and go get an image URL. So put a comma, go image URL, and then we're going to pass in our image. Let's go ahead and find a pretty badass image of Vegeta real quick. Go to images. Let's see what we're working with here. You know, something good, something good. This one's pretty good. So right click, copy image address. Go ahead and close that. Now, let's go ahead and pass that in like so. Typically you want to use ng-src. Sometimes you can use src, but what happens here is oh, excuse me. I did this. What happens here is sometimes your code will generate before it fulfills the src requirement. So if you use ng-src, an Angular directive, it will allow you to go ahead and it will load the Angular before it loads the image, basically. So you won't have that issue. Now you may be saying, as someone in the chat just said, isn't using Angular for this overkill for a simple tribute page? It is, but if you're new to using Angular and you don't really know how to get started, there's nothing better than getting started with about as simple as an example as a tribute page could get. I highly encourage people to learn. I learned Angular by making my website, and this is basically a simple web page. Let's go ahead and jump back in here. So now we have a bunch of data. So let's go ahead and jump into Vegeta timeline and see if we can get some similar data that we can then use another directive, and I can show you how ng-repeat works. So let's go ahead and we'll create another thing here of this object, and this will be moments. How do we want to do this? We'll just call it subheading 2, and what we're going to do is we're just going to call this memorable moments, and we're going to pass in a another h3 tag here /h3, and then we're going to use RIP spoiler. Spoiler warning, guys, if you're watching this. So be careful. You may get some spoilers from Dragon Ball Super. I'm a big fan, by the way. So we're going to call this Vegeta.subheading 2. Go ahead and make sure everything's working before moving forward. Now, where is... where is our subheading 2? See if our image is pushing it off the screen a little bit. Oh, there's our E. All right, so Angular, if you're misspelling your directive, what we'll actually do is we'll get Vegeta quotes. That'll be better and quicker. If you're misspelling your expression or you're calling the wrong thing, it's just not going to display it. You'll be able to troubleshoot it by inspecting the element and going from there. So there's our memorable moments. We'll go ahead and change this to quotes. Let's go ahead and close this out a little bit. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new object. In this case, we're going to go ahead and use scope dot quotes, and this is going to be equal to an array of objects, and we'll put about 3 or 4 in here, and we'll just have this quote, and then we'll put something in here in a second, and then we'll have quote, we'll put something in here in a second, and then we'll have quote, and then let's see if we can get some good Vegeta quotes. So according to this, there's 25 great Vegeta quotes. So we'll take this one. We're going to go ahead and throw it in here like so. We'll go ahead and find another one. Someone, Control-C. Go ahead and throw it in here like so. We'll get about 5 or so. Him talking shit to Frieza, that's a pretty good one. And do quote. And then quote. Now you're gonna see one of the great things about ng-repeat's a very used tool directive in this. And then, of course, it's over 9,000. Very nice. So what we're going to do here is we're going to write 2 lines of code to output all our quotes using a directive called ng-repeat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a simple unordered list with a UL tag /UL. We're going to create a one single list item here. And now we're going to target our array in ng-repeat in our UL. So we're going to say ng-repeat is equal to an item in our array, in the array, and what's our array name? Quotes. So just some item. We could rename this to I. We could basically rename this anything we want. So typically the convention is to say quote in quotes, so you kind of know it's one single object. And what we're going to do here is simply target what we want to output. In this case, we're going to put name.quote, and it's going to output all 5 of our quotes like so. Or you could be like me and forgot that we messed up. These all need to be objects. Sorry guys, I forgot to everything needs to be an object here. My bad. So let's go ahead and make these all objects real quick. It's an array of objects. Whoopsies. Sometimes doing this live, you might drop the ball on the little things, but it's alright. Go ahead and close that. So you have an array of objects like so. And then one final one. There we go. Now everything should be peachy. However, it is not outputting our quotes. Interesting. So, quote in quotes. Oh, I wonder. Oh, so see how we originally named this to name? It actually is this item. So, excuse me. And let's not change. This might cause an issue of doing quote and quote. So, of course, make sure you're naming everything correctly. And then we have our 5 quotes like so. So we have our quotes with only one line of code. It's outputting additional HTML as long as communicating the data over correctly. Again, to get this to work, we use ng-repeat directive that takes in an array and then outputs the HTML that's within the scope of this array for as many lengths as you have. You're going to need an array of objects to do that. We are working with AngularJS 1, and we're doing a little bit of HTML. Now let's go ahead and jump back into here. We have this. We also need a little quote and then a link. Let's go ahead and do this as well. We'll just go ahead and add a another comment here. This would be subheading 3, and then we will put something like, why they always doing Vegeta dirty in Dragon Ball Super. Find out more in the next and we do something like that, and we just output a URL, and we could just put something like find out more in the next, and then maybe we'll do an h1 tag and make it pop a little bit. So that's our subheading 3. Below the URL we can put something like maybe like a, what do I want to do? We'll do like a paragraph. No, let's do an h5. Something small. H5 tag. Pass in our subheading 3. So we'll call it Vegeta.subheading 3. And then we can just pass in an anchor tag like so. Give it an href. Actually, let's do ng-href. This is similar to why we use ng-src here, is in case it loads beforehand. So we'll pass in something in a second. Let's go ahead and pull up the Vegeta wiki page. Pull that in. Let's go ahead and copy this link. Jump back. Vegeta. We'll put wiki link or wiki URL. Put a comma like so, and then we can just go ahead and pass this. And I'm gonna put the word episode. There's actually a better way of doing this. I'm just being kind of lazy. You can actually dynamically generate HTML in your code, but for the time being, this is an introductory one, and we'll do that in the next one, in the next episode. Pun intended. All right, Vegeta.wiki URL, and then let's go ahead and set target equal to blank. Now this should build out the entire thing. So next episode, let's put a little bit of a space here. Make sure everything works. And bam, it goes to the Dragon Ball Wiki. I believe that satisfies everything we need to do. We can definitely do some styling though to make this look a little bit better. And we'll jump in and do that right now. This is a nice basic introduction to AngularJS. It showed off one of the key things of the ng-repeat, how that works, how to basically connect your scope, what a controller does, and the app. Now, I believe there's something in here to beautify this. I'm trying to remember how to clean this up. Tidy.js, there we go. And then we'll do tidy HTML. Cool. So there is this. So we're done with the AngularJS part. Now what do we want to do? We could do some CSS. I really hate doing CSS. Should we do CSS or should we call it a night? What do I want to do? Let's go ahead and do some CSS. We can add IDs here. Actually, let's go ahead and add an ID to the div and just put, I believe it's text-center to center stuff from the, I think maybe it has to be a class for the Bootstrap class. So now everything is centered, except our memorable quotes. We're actually going to remove the styling. So to do that, we're using the text-center class from Bootstrap. To do that, we can go ahead and target the LIs, and we can say something like, God, I'm trying to remember what it was. Remove UL style. I know you set it to none, I just don't remember it. List-style. As basic interpreted as you can do. So we'll do list-style, and we'll put it none. There's also a li class that does this. So there is that. We can also target our one image, because it's getting a little out of hand, the size of it. So we'll do image, and we'll set something like width 500 px. That's much more manageable. Let's go ahead and add some curved corners on that. So we can do border dash radius. Let's see what 25% looks like. That's pretty hideous. I believe 50% would be kind of sick. 100%? I forget what a, let's do 5%. We just want curved corners. There we go. Or actually, let's do 25px. There we go. So we got a nice little Vegeta picture. Let's go ahead and add a background. For this, we can just target the body. And we can say background dash image URL. Let's go find a nice image. The site I prefer for like free images is unsplash.com. I don't think we'll find any Dragon Ball related ones. But maybe we can find an Earth one. That might be somewhat relatable. I like this one. Courtesy of NASA. So here we go here. Let's go pass that in. And then we will do something like background dash size. I believe it's contain. I don't really like the it's not contain. I want it to connect through the whole thing but not repeat. So let's go ahead and look up the background dash size property real quick. What we are looking for is cover, I believe. Now that I think about it, I believe it is cover. Kind of looks like a Dragon Ball. That looks kind of nice. We can't really see the font anymore. So let's go ahead and change the font. So we can just do color to white Prince of all sayings, memorable quotes. Let's make everything pop a little bit more. We'll pull up some new fonts, Google fonts, and we'll get a new font to insert into here as well. Oswald is pretty good. So let's see here. We're gonna just copy this link and import it into our HTML. We can throw it up in the head here. Save it. And then we'll say font-family. Oswald. And there we go. We have just finished our tribute page for this. Pretty fun. I'm going to make this pop a little bit more by taking this out of the H5 and then just go ahead and putting a H3 tag around it. It drops down a level. I hope you enjoy this. I'm actually going to throw one last dash on these to make these quotes not look like they're running into each other. So we'll do a dash, 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 dash. But I hope you enjoyed this, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This is just a basic introduction to AngularJS. We'll be diving into more advanced stuff in the future projects, but this should help get you started to at least get it set up via CodePen so that you can work through it later on. Thanks for the support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and support me on Patreon. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Special thanks to our sponsor, DevMountain. Definitely check them out at devmountain.com. If you're looking for a bootcamp that's in front-end development, iOS, or UX, go ahead and give them a shot. Tuition includes housing, so you can get up and go and fully immerse yourself in the program. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.